Coming up on Stone Nation. What happened?
Okay.
Why'd you dump the Revel for the Storyteller?
Okay. So I like when I say it's perfect for what I needed at that time. But the Revel, like almost every other motorhome, is not built very well. These are houses on wheels, and the construction of the cabinetry is pretty crap. Like I wouldn't want that cabinetry in my actual house, like my brick and mortar house. Like that's not really that good cabinetry, and the fact that it's shaking all day long and breaking and getting banged by backpacks and stuff, it just falls apart. And so the cabinetry and all those little details really were kind of flimsy. Yes, the first year I had my Revel, I had issues like everyone probably has when they get their first vehicle. You have to get all those kinks out. You have to get those plumbing lines fixed. You need to, there's always
Welcome to another episode of Stone Nation, a production of Park Media. Before I introduce today's guest, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share, and leave a 5-star review. And if you find this podcast useful in any way and want to pay us the ultimate compliment, head on over to our Patreon page where you can subscribe to be a Classic, Stealth, or Beast Mode subscriber. What's going on, Stone Nation? Welcome back. I'm super excited because on this episode I have Kicker Kalozdi, who talks about what it was like owning a Winnebago Revel and why the Storyteller Beast mode fit his family needs better. Kicker has a fantastic point of view for any of those who want to know the differences between the two and or even struggling to figure out which one will fit best for your needs. So with that, please sit back, relax, and welcome Kicker Kalozdi to the Stone Nation family. All right, Kicker. Hey, thanks for coming on to Stone Nation today. Appreciate it.
No, totally.
So I got to ask you before we even begin this podcast is, what's up with the name Kicker? That's really your first name.
Yeah, it's totally socially awkward to have a name Kicker. Always introducing myself and people are like, wait, what? Or like double taking or giggling. Kicker is my name. Yes, when my mother was pregnant, I kicked a lot. So she's been calling me her little kicker since I was in the womb. She called me a lot of other things too, explicative names, not necessarily radio appropriate. But yeah, when I popped out of that womb, she's like, there's my little kicker. And I've been stuck with the name ever since. It is totally weird, but I decided to give my son the same sort of weird childhood by giving his name, calling him Oak. So we have Oak like the tree, Kicker.
Oh.
Our dog's name is Rooster, and my wife has a nice normal name, Anne. So.
Wow. Okay. Oh, I thought you were gonna say Kicker Junior or something.
No, Kicker Junior. Yeah, we were thinking like calling him Puncher or something, but no, he is
Roundhouse.
Roundhouse, right? Yeah, but there we go, boom. So no, Kicker is my name for better or worse.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you've embraced it. It seems like you're having fun with it, so good for you.
Yeah, it's treated me well. Dude, like seriously, you can only imagine that I was in like middle school PE, right? We're at kickball, all right? And the expectations of Kicker coming up to bat. His name is Kicker. He's going to be amazing. Everyone had these high expectations. Little did they know that I suck at soccer and I suck at kicking things. And I mean, complete failure and always never meeting those expectations. So I did have to go through some hardship going through middle school and high school as people quickly realized that while my name is Kicker, I am not good at soccer. I'm not good at kickball. I am not the football kicker. I'm much more of a runner, climber, hiker kind of guy than I am of a traditional athlete.
Okay. Well, I mean, fair enough. I'm glad that you turned it around. Yeah. It doesn't seem like it fazed you one bit. So yeah, no, seems like it just added the fuel.
Yeah, I try to roll with the punches.
Nice. Well, I asked you to come on to the podcast because in the Facebook forum, you stated that you had a Revel before you decided to buy a Storyteller. So before I ask you the big question, what year and what year and like the upgrades and whatnot did you have on the Revel?
So, okay, well, that's two questions there. What kind of upgrades and what year? Let's go with the upgrades first, right? I used to have an old Jeep Wrangler, like one of the old metal ones. You never had to have a roof on. It could survive, typhoons, and it wouldn't be a problem because it was just totally indestructible. I pimped that ride up. I mean, the full lift, the big tires, all that. And I had a great time. But the more I added to it, the more complications I had down the line. And like, I couldn't take it to a standard dealership to work on. It just became, it looked cool, but on a day-to-day basis became more of a hassle. So when I got my second Jeep, I just went with a top of the line, right out of the box, Jeep Wrangler though, which was, a stock pimped out ride off the dealership's lot. And it was kind of cool long term because I didn't have any issues, or if it was not as complicated trying to get repairs done, or having to worry about, is the gas mileage going to be changed? I don't know. So when I decided to get my second rig, which was a Revel, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to add too many things to it. I looked at adding suspension systems and all that, and I use that thing as a daily driver. Like, I use it all the time. It's not something I just put in the garage and use once every few weeks. It's literally on the road with me every day. I did not upgrade it. The vehicle was pretty great, all things considered, and it handled more than I could have asked for. Now, I'm not rock crawling in this thing. These are vans. They're not really designed to go rock crawling. They're more to get you to awesome destinations as opposed to, yes, you can do some cool stuff in it, but realistically, I didn't want to pimp that ride out to be crazy lifted to make it less efficient on the interstate and whatnot. So I had a Revel, pretty standard, nothing fancy. It was the last of what I like to call the good years before they kind of changed the Revels. Yeah, I mean, before they changed the garage layout to fit the big batteries in there. The basically my Revel was, I think, a 2019, 2020, I think 2019.
Okay, so you had
And
the
so
AGM batteries.
So yeah, I had old school batteries, nothing fancy, but what was beautiful was the utilitarian side of how big the garage was back then. And I think that was, I mean, listen, to each their own, but I liked having that space back there. I used my van to work out of and sell product from, like literally, like imagine a food truck, but I would show up and sell a product that I designed out of it. And having all that space back there really helped a lot. Yeah, so that was my Revel. I used it every single day and loved it. And when I mean I loved it, I truly loved it. I thought, like, oh, this is perfection on wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met
Why did you?
Storyteller.
Uh, why did you buy a Revel in the first place? Instead of like a Sportsmobile or something
Yeah.
else along
Yeah,
that
yeah,
lines.
totally. So I've been doing this for about 6 years now at this point. And before I had the Revel, I had a Class A, stereotypical RV, all the elbow room you could imagine. It had, storage compartments underneath the vehicles. I could put all sorts of stuff down there. I loved it. I mean, it was a house on wheels and compare, like a full size, like mansion on wheels compared to the floor plan of a Revel or a STO. I did like that, but there's a lot of things I didn't like about that. I mean, I was totally unable to go to most places, and you couldn't go down fire roads with that, or go explore, unique cities and whatnot, which was a little frustrating. Oh, boom. Sorry. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I hope we're good.
No.
Sorry, I had another phone call come in. So I loved my first rig, this Class A motorhome. It crossed the country. I lived out of it for 6 months, literally every single state in the country I went to with it. And
sorry to interrupt, but to put things in perspective and context, do you mind telling everyone why you're traveling all over?
Oh yeah, so in another life, wow, it seems like a lifetime ago, but yeah, 6 years ago, I designed all sorts of men's products, wallets, briefcases, bags, and I would sell it was all buffalo leather, wax canvas, really bougie, high end stuff, a lot of World War I, World War II style, inspired styling, and I would sell it to boutiques across the country. So back then, I could live for 6 months out of the road, 6 months out of the year on the road, because I'd literally go to small town USA where they'd have the best men's store or barbershop and get my product in their hands, and they'd immediately love it. Or I'd go visit accounts that were already carrying my product and just touch base and show them the newest items. So it was kind of cool. I got to go on the road and be, I guess, for lack of a better word, an old school door-to-door salesman. I mean, it was fun. There's not too many people that do that nowadays. Everything's online, or you go to a big trade show. So I would go visit stores. I mean, you're talking about like places up in Arcata, California by the redwoods, or in the Adrianex, like all across the country, small town USA, and also big cities too. And so I was able to do that. It was a lot of fun. But that big Class A was not pleasant to drive on the interstate. It would not allow me to go explore the national parks. I mean, it's just not possible, or go to any parks really. And then that couldn't be a daily driver. You can't drive that through a real city. I mean, yes, you can drive it through a city, but you're not going to go downtown, Minneapolis, downtown Chicago,
right.
with this thing. It's just not realistic. And so the more I, committed to a lifestyle of, I guess, being a road warrior, the more I realized I needed to kind of optimize. Now, that first one I got was for, let's just be honest, comparatively inexpensive compared to a Revel or an STO vehicle.
Yeah, right.
So it was a low investment. It was like, it's baby's first, pair of shoes. It was my first time getting to learn, what I needed to be on the road. And after that first experience, I knew, okay, I don't need, I don't need like a 4-bedroom apartment on wheels. That's not necessary. I really don't need that much space. What I do need is something that's maneuverable and something that's capable of going over a little bit more rough terrain.
Right. And so back then, the Revel was really the only Class B other than the Sportsmobile and maybe some other high-end outfitters, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Revel was innovative in that it was really the first off the shelf option. Yeah, you had Sportsmobile, but that's all custom stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
and and I did look at those. I did look at Sportsmobiles, and I did look at some of like the really more niche companies and doing that. And I compared them all back and forth. I really did. I'm somebody that before I make a decision, I spend way too much time researching. Like it's embarrassing. I tried and compared everything. I looked at pricing. I looked at options. I looked at wait times. I looked at, I mean, literally capability. One of the things I didn't know is I wanted 4-wheel drive. I wanted 4-wheel drive, and to get a chassis that was 4-wheel drive, that alone is very expensive. And very important. I also compared different chassis, right? I looked at Dodge versus Sprinter versus Ford,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, because that's important, right? That's really, really important. And so before I even looked at the house, I first figured out the chassis. So
That's
that was like
smart.
the first thing is like, okay, who cares about the layout? If you don't enjoy drive, and like I said, I drive this every single day. If I don't enjoy driving it, then like that's going to be miserable, because I am spending, usually when I go like across the country, which is all the time. I mean, across the country back and forth constantly. If I'm going on the country and I'm doing about 11 hours a day, 10 hours a day, I want to make sure I'm like enjoying that time on the interstate, because that is as cool as we think these things are. Most of the time, you're going to be driving on the interstate, or point A to point B. Yeah, it can handle beautifully off road, but you also want it to handle beautifully on the interstate. So I compared the Dodge, the Sprinter, the Ford. I even looked at Nissan had a weird van too. But at the end of the
Oh,
day,
yeah.
after doing a test, a drive test, right, literally just driving, and these were just literally cargo vans. I was not looking at like some bougie ass thing. I wanted them to all to be the bare bones, so I wasn't letting the plush seats of a
Mm.
Mercedes offset my opinion on how it handled compared to the more utilitarian Dodge. So I didn't want any bias in there. I wanted just the handle, and so I literally, it was just cargo vans I drove. And at the end of the day, it was by and far clear that for the long hauls, the Mercedes is impossible to beat. Like, just absolutely impossible to beat. So when I started
Gotcha.
narrowing it down from there, and listen, I mean, like for city to city or for shorter drives, if you're not driving 11 hours a day on the interstate, yeah, I think the Dodge is great. The Dodge handles great. The front wheel drive is great when you do have to go a little bit more off road. The fact that you sit up front like that, like the ProMaster chassis, like it makes it really easy. It's like driving a golf cart, really. It's so easy.
Yeah.
But for long hauls, the Mercedes just was so much more pleasurable to drive. So once I narrowed it down to I want a Mercedes chassis, that really, and then I'm like, okay, I want 4-wheel drive, and then I want all these features. I want a bed. At that time, I really was adamant about having a closed off bathroom space. Like, I thought that was critical. And once you start looking at all these features, the price of the Revel seemed very, I don't use the word affordable. It definitely has gone up in more recent years, but it seemed like the natural selection, natural fit compared to say something like Sportsmobile, where I have to custom all out, and to custom all out to have the features that came on the Revel is like, it'd be more expensive at that point. So
Mm.
the Revel had I think I said the 4-wheel drive, which was important. Obviously, the basic things like a refrigerator and a bed, those are fine. I was actually not a fan of the lift bed at first, because
Oh,
I don't
really?
like technology. I really don't. The more
Hmm.
technology, the more stuff you have, the more likely it can go bad. And I listen. I love my Revel, but there are multiple times that the fuse died on that lift bed, and I couldn't sleep in my bed that night because I couldn't lower the bed.
Uh,
So that's no fun. Um, you know,
yeah, that sounds
so
awful.
yeah, that was awful. That was awful. We were leaving Big Bend National Park in Texas, and like, yep, bed was not going to lower. Just not sleeping tonight. Sleeping on the floor. I mean, we have air mattresses
Jeez.
and stuff, but that's life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the Revel made the most sense when it came to price and all the features. Was it perfect? No, but it did have everything we needed. That closed off bathroom was really, not that I'm a prude, but because I was using it every day, I like the idea of just being able to hop into a closet and take a dump or shower really fast and then keep on moving. And that was really a nice feature. And remember, at that point, I had not, I came from living basically in a class A. So the idea of having not a closed off bathroom was really an intimidating concept. I mean, I had already,
Right.
it's hard when you've had all this space and literally individual rooms to not have them. So the Revel was perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for explaining that.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Okay.
Why did you dump the Revel for the Storyteller?
Okay. So I like when I say it's perfect for what I needed at that time. But the Revel, like almost every other motorhome, is not built very well. These are houses on wheels, and the construction of the cabinetry is pretty crap. Like I wouldn't want that cabinetry in my actual house, like my brick and mortar house. Like that's not really that good cabinetry, and the fact that it's shaking all day long and breaking and getting banged by backpacks and stuff, it just falls apart. And so the cabinetry and all those little details really were kind of flimsy. Yes, the first year I had my Revel, I had issues like everyone probably has when they get their first vehicle. You have to get all those kinks out. You have to get those plumbing lines fixed. You need to, there's always going to be issues. So I had all these issues. I got rid of all those issues after the first year because I had driven in. I learned, okay, these are the problems, and I fixed them all up. And I was not eager to get another van because even if I didn't like the cabinetry so much on the Revel or there was newer, fancier models coming out, I was like, this one is perfect. I've gotten all the little problems solved, and I'm not having any issues now. And I now know how to do everything from the plumbing on this thing to making sure that my the chassis is working right. So I felt really comfortable with that van. And then I had a kid. And that right there just totally changed everything. My wife and I, we have a 2-year-old now, and he's awesome. Oak is such a cool little kid, and we would take him in our Revel. We spent all of past summer up in Wyoming, living out of the van there, and spending the summer in the van with him. He was about a year and a half at that point, less than a year and a half. But we realized, wow, this Revel is great for a couple. It sucks for anything more than 2 people. It just does. There's not
Why?
so the bed up front it's not a real bed, right? Like the you have the main bed in the back, but there's not really, not a really functional bed elsewhere in the van, so our kid, don't judge us, people, but our kid was just sleeping on the 2 cab seats at the very front we just bought a plank of wood, and we plopped it right there,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
put a little like bed on top of that. But it was really ghetto, and like I felt like crap. Our kid was up there, and like we're in like the plush bed in the back, and so that was one thing. The other thing, which like I said, I did love my Revel, and I know Winnebago's the big manufacturer here, but their product cuts corners like many companies do in the motorhome industry. And once we had a kid, we started paying more attention to the back bench seat there and the safety there. That is a piece of shit. Sorry, can I curse? I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can say whatever.
Okay, that bench seat is comical. Like, it's just wood, right? And like, my wife's an engineer. Like, she is extremely intelligent, and it was not really on our radar when we bought the van to like even consider the back seat, because just the 2 of us, like, because we're gonna sit there during like dinner and that's about it. But then we realized we're strapping our kid in his car seat to this glorified like wooden bench that you find in a park. Like, wow, that was disheartening to say the least. And then there's no top shoulder mount to those, at least not in the R edition. I think the newer ones, they've now added a third point on the harness, but even then it's still a pretty crummy back bench seat. So that began the process of, okay, we don't have really a bed space for our child, and that place is not really a safe car, to hold his car seat. More importantly, we would not be able to flip his car seat forward once he turned a little bit older, because you could not safely, and like I said, my wife's an engineer, she follows the instructions perfectly. You could not put a forward facing car seat on the back bench seat of the Revel to the standards, to the safety standards that like, you just can't. Like, I know people will try and make it work, and yes, you can do whatever the hell you want, but you're not actually meeting the standards set by the government. So that kind of made us think, oh crap, we gotta find a new option sooner than later. And like I said, we were happy with our van. We looked at the new Revels as they rolled out with the fancy batteries and all that, and we're like, no, not for us. And we'd seen STO slowly, making headways on the social medias and online and all their PR and all these outside, all these really great reviews, but we were like, nope, not for us. And honestly, we're like, oh, this is full of shit. Like it's like because the branding is a little too it seems too fake to me at first, and I realized not until I
Mm-hmm.
visited the company last week did I realize, oh wow, no, these people are legit. But at first I thought it was a little fake, like, oh, they're just trying to
Mm-hmm.
play up this image. No, they're legit. So that's another story for another day. But at first we were kind of turned off by some of the way the brand was presented in terms of the branding itself, not the product. And then we started looking at
Well,
the
how
product.
how did it turn you off? That's curious. I mean,
Um,
I'm curious about that in regards to like
it
what
seemed a
was
little
it
like
exactly?
hipstery, to be honest, and like drink the
Oh, okay.
Kool-Aid, be part of our cult, and I'm just trying to be blunt here, right? Like,
Yeah, no, no.
and I was like, oh man, I don't really, like it's this concept of having this cool vehicle that allows you to be independent and explore the world on your own. But then I felt a lot like, oh, it's kind of like maybe maybe it's a little cultish. I don't maybe
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit. And the more I got to meet the company itself, did I realize, no, it's not fake. They're not fake. They legitimately are just that cool. They legitimately like are cool dudes. Like these are people that I want to work with. And I was floored, but I didn't really realize that till after I was an owner.
Mm-hmm.
So because I'm like, my background's in marketing and merchandising, and so I thought there's a little bit more hype than there was meat on the bones, right? That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
ultimately where I was at. It's like like, and sometimes when something seems to be too good to be true, guess what? It's too good to be true.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So it wasn't until I got to put my like feet inside a vehicle did I see, oh wow, damn, like holy shit, this thing is awesome. It
Mm-hmm.
was. I mean, I was like, my wife and I were like, oh, it's not of interest to us. It's not of interest to us. It wasn't our style of a branded product. It wasn't our style of a vehicle, because we thought at the time that we really did need a closed off bathroom. Like, we don't even want to consider having a little BS cassette toilet that like you have to be
Yeah.
like under 100 pounds to use that cassette toilet comfortably. Let's just be honest, right? I'm like, that's a tiny
Yeah.
little toilet, and not to have a closed off place for a shower, like it's just going to make a mess. And we that was our biggest holdup. And also like the bed looks janky, like these are all the images we've seen. And then
Oh
we
yeah.
went to a van expo, pure, and we don't like to go to van expos because whatever, we don't want to be pushed things. We rather discover things, if that makes sense. So anyway, we happened to go to one just to give it a benefit of doubt. And the first thing we looked at was not the shower situation at all, it was the back bench seat for our
Mm.
child. And my wife,
Mm-hmm.
the engineer, was like, wait, what? Wait, what? Like, really? And that's a real seat back there. That's a beautifully designed backbench seat that is not only comfortable for an adult, that not only folds into another bed for another human being to spend the night, but also is ex- the safest thing in the market to put a car seat into. And so that had my wife immediately, boom, sold. Like, okay, this is now a hordy level up than anything else we've seen in any other manufacturer. I mean, I'm talking about like anyone from Sportsmobile to a Winnebago, like this backbench seat is perfect. So that had her on board. With me, I was like, okay, well, let's look at the rest of the van. And the first thing I looked at was the cabinets and everything. And like the construction of all that is like it's night and day. You can't compare that to anything from Winnebago at all. Like it's comical how the much better the craftsmanship is in the storyteller stuff. So I mean, that had me really excited because I'm like, whoa, geez, you mean I won't have to replace this every 6 months while I'm on the road and all the shaking? Like, this is actually durable stuff. And then the last big hiccup for us, or hold up for us, was, okay, let's check out this bathroom situation. And the pictures don't do it justice. Going and seeing how innovative that system is, I believe they call it the Halo shower or whatever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that was really kind of cool. Now, my wife and I were not huge human beings, so we were able to fit in there pretty comfortably. The toilet, yeah, not as comfortable as the toilet in the Winnebago. But guess what? We did a whole pros and cons, analysis. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the bathroom, let's be honest, if you're going to take a bath in or shower in one versus the other, yeah, the Winnebago is a little bit better. But guess what? You're only probably in the bathroom, I mean, unless you got like some dietary issues or something, you're probably going to be in the bathroom only so long each day. And I mean, yeah, you could be stinky, but you're probably going to be taking a 2-3 minute shower a day if you're on the road. So you don't really need to dedicate that much space permanently to your van. And so yes, while we were taking a shower, the Winnebago was better. While we were going to the bathroom, the Winnebago was better. But 98% of the time that thing is stashed away and gone. And guess what's amazing is the open feeling of the STO. Like that blew our mind away, that suddenly we can be in this tiny van that's literally the exact same wheelbase as our Revel, except not feel like we're cramped into a little hole. Like we feel like we're in a nice little apartment. There's so much light having the full size windows. Our son can look out from his car seat, which he could not do in a Revel. The Revel, the kid is in a little isolation chamber, and that's for anyone that has a kid that's looking at getting a Revel versus an STO. You realize if you have a kid sitting in that car seat facing backwards, he's going to see nothing. There is no light out there. I mean, because the bench is right next to this tiny little porthole window, which is just it's kind of crappy. And I can tell you stories about that window breaking in like terrible conditions, like when I was out in the sticks in Navajo Nation. Like, let's not get started. But the Revel window in the back half of the house, just those little pop-up hinge windows, terrible, absolutely terrible design. And we can talk about all that later. But so anyway, it's nice that my son can look at the window while we're driving. That had, you know, another plus for the kid, right? But the idea that we can spend this much time in the van and have it be open and airy, feel like that while the bathroom's gone, like it was game changing for us. So with those things all kind of put into play, we're like, okay, this is the right decision for us.
Okay, so with the bathroom situation and the shower situation, usually that's why people buy the Revel over the Storyteller.
Yeah.
So when you do use the bathroom, how do you guys figure that out? Like, you know, not to get TMI or whatever, but does like one leave the van and the other one does their business, or do you guys just not care? Or like,
I mean,
how do you figure that out?
We're pretty like, I mean, we're not a nudist colony in my family, but we're like pretty open and stuff. Like we don't, you know, she can poop right next to me and I could be cooking dinner and that we're totally fine with that.
Okay,
you know, I mean,
enough.
like, I hope our kid realizes that in public, you probably do need to have some clothes on every now and then, you know, like we're okay. We understand that this is van life. Like, yeah, you know, it's going to get a little close, but I wouldn't recommend van life for anyone unless you're super comfortable, or traveling with anyone unless you're super comfortable with your, you know, with pooping next to somebody, you know, or taking a shower. Like it's not for like, you know, it's not for everyone, definitely not. But I mean, if you're not comfortable with that, then you should probably not look at getting a van. It's just even in the Revel, I mean, like you're not that private. Realistically, it's really not that private. So far we found that you have to like, you know, adjust your foot position to use a cassette toilet. You know, it's you got to brace yourself in certain ways, but it's fine now. You know, we realized.
Where do you put the toilet when you guys use it? Do you put it on top of the shower pan or?
Okay, so during the daylight hours, we're using nature whenever possible. So we only try to use the bathroom at night, and at that point, you know, like we're trying to be quiet, not wake up to everyone else. But yeah, no, I leave it in the shower pan if possible. You know, if that's like the option, if it's just me, you know, on the road, leave it in the shower pan, pop the thing up, pop the little lid over, and leave it right in there, and you know, go right there. You know, it works great. Luckily, I'm a dude. I'm able to stand up. But I found that if you stand up using that little cassette toilet, there's like a lot of distance there. So you get the splash effect, which is just nasty.
Right.
So I think you kind of have to sit down on the cassette toilet if your body allows you to sit on the toilet, because some people are a little larger. So that's what I find. But what's crazy is that before we got the van, while we were considering getting the STO, we did a little trial run while we were living in Wyoming. We also realized, by the way, living in Wyoming, even in the summer, I mean, despite it being in Wyoming, in the summer, it was extremely hot. And one of the other things I forgot to mention was we really wanted to run our AC. Here we are using these little portable fans to keep us cool. And the Revel is not able to run the AC all day. Like, that's a joke. You can get it for a few hours, even on the newer ones. But we wanted to run our AC. We weren't able to. One of the other reasons the STO really impressed us, specifically the Beast, and which is the main reason we got the Beast, was the auto start feature. So we could basically run our AC indefinitely. I mean, we live in New Orleans full time, and you know, when we're not on the road, but even then, we're still, whenever we leave New Orleans, we're having to spend at least 2 or 3 days to the deep south. So being able to run an AC is critical, and that was really the primary reason for the Beast. Yeah, all the little lifts and lights and all that fun stuff is cool, but the real reason for us was, the biggest selling point was the auto start feature. So anyway, back to testing bathroom etiquette and techniques. When we were, I don't know, I think this is gonna be a whole episode on its own. But before we got the STO, we're like, okay, let's try to use our bathroom as little as possible in the van. Let's see how long we can go. not like hold our bladders long, but let's try to use truck stops whenever possible, or park, rest stops whenever possible, or just like a tree or something, and see how little we can. Because not only is the toilet in the Storyteller a little more less uh I don't know, less practical to use or less efficient to use when you're on the road, but also the waste bin in that is far smaller than what you have on the Revel. So we're like, we got to try and minimize the amount of use of this toilet, for multiple reasons. And we found, at least the way that we travel, we really don't need to use the cassette toilet that often. We really don't. I mean, obviously at night, you don't want to have to get out and move and stuff, but other than night, like every time, and if you can save your number twos for when you're in the in a gas station or something, then it makes it not so bad. So we found that, yeah, it was not that big of a deal, having a downgrading, and I'm going to call it a downgrading from the plush luxury Winnebago Revels toilet, or throne, shall we call it, to the STO throne. We and like I said, the benefits more than outweighed any sort of negatives. Having that much space, which is what we use for the van for 90% of the time, 98% of the time, is great. Like I said, the van is my daily driver, and the fact that I can fold up the Murphy bed and have it totally disappear, I can hide away the toilet in the shower and have that big open space. My van is on a daily basis just a big cargo van, which is awesome. Like, I love that amount of space.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So thanks for going into detail about that, because as weird as it sounds, that's like the number one thing that, stops people from either getting a Storyteller or a Revel. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, I believe it.
So did you look at anything else other than a Storyteller?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, and I came to the
What did
same.
you look at?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Should we promote other brands? I don't know, but like they have all these more boutique brands, or custom builds, or hey, a la carte. You want this, this, and this, and they'll put it all together. We looked at all those, and at the end of the day, while the Storyteller is expensive, we felt that yes, we could do what we wanted for cheaper, except for the auto start, that cool auto start. You can get kind of something similar, but not quite as good. So yes, we could get a lot of those features on a cheaper end price point. But and I know this can sound like ape shit insane, saying that, considering that the van for Beast is like $200,000, but there was a lot of value for that $200,000 that I felt we got more bang for our buck than we would get if we got an independently made or individually custom made a la carte item. Yes, the a la carte item might be perfect for what we need, but we're getting quite a few little extras. And on top of that, you can get something made by, Joe in his garage, or you can build it yourself. But having and I'm going to call this straight out, the support that is the STO family of employees and the whole business is extremely valuable. I mean, they are the product is great. The Storyteller product is a great product. It's an absolutely amazing product. But what's even better than the product is the company. Like the company itself, the employees, the ethos, the mentality of everyone at the business is legit, and that's what has me really waving the banner for them. Is you can have the best product in the world, but having that best product in the world supported by a company that's even better than the product itself is just, wow, perfect. So yeah, and once I started doing more research and asking them, and like I think we probably made some enemies at Storyteller, because my wife and I would get on the phone and we'd ask them like the really hard questions, about like the actual design engineering philosophy used to build certain things. And my wife, like I said, is an engineer, and we really went into the nitty gritty. But constantly they came back smiling with information, giving us diagrams, giving us all the information so that we can make an educated decision. And we didn't get kind of that experience with other designers. So yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, it's a little more expensive than we wanted. It's a lot more expensive than my wife wanted, but it's a lot of bang for your buck. You get the support of the company, and it has things that you're not going to find from anyone else, like like the I think they call it the Groove Lounge seat, right? The seat is a legit seat. The shower system, you can get something equivalent on other companies, other vans now, but having all that one package and well laid out, and all the little quirks being fixed, because this is like, I don't know if this is the generation 2 or 3 now, but there are clear changes on the 22 Beast from the 2021 Beast, from the 2020 Beast.
Oh yeah.
And those little things show, like, they don't need to do that, right? Like, they already sold. Like, these things have got a wait list over a year long. They didn't need to go in and change the placement of a little button or add a little feature. These things have already been sold. but that shows the dedication of the company, right? That they're continually improving, and I love that. I love that concept of I'm Hungarian, Mingda always better, always better, always improving, always improving, and like they don't even need to, because it's not like they need to try and sell these. They're selling themselves.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you have 2022 Beast.
Yeah.
How long have you owned it for?
So I have Beast number 22.7, so the seventh one off the line from this year. I've had it since January. I was gonna get, I've had it since January, and I've used it every single day. It's already got nice about 4,000 or 5,000 miles on it. I've been having to work. I had to leave my Beast at home for 1 week, which was my big trip. But other than that, it's been used every single day nonstop. From New Orleans to the Smoky Mountains to Pennsylvania. It's been all over.
Okay, so you got some good mileage in there.
I mean,
So
that's a little low on mileage for me normally, because I do drive across country constantly for work. So it's kind of like I could use a few more miles on there. But yeah, no, I actually didn't want to do too many miles. I was in Birmingham last week because I already found a lot of the little kinks that needed to get taken care of, like everyone should expect. And this is, I think, important for anyone that's listening to this that has never had a van before, a camper van, or an RV for that point, and is waiting for their future STO, or they're considering it. You have to accept the fact that yes, this is an expensive vehicle. This is a very expensive vehicle, but that you're going to get it and you're going to have problems. I promise you, there's going to be little things. People, they're like, oh, it's perfect. I've driven it, first 60 miles, everything's fine. Of course, 60 miles is nothing. Drive it for a full year, and I promise you're going to have things that are going to get ironed out. It's just the nature of it. Because, this is not a, like that's, it's a house on wheels. There's a lot of variables in play. And the thing that's nice about Storyteller is they immediately help you out. They'll send you the part, no problem. Replace that warped table, no problem. You're having an issue with this electrical thing, no problem. This is how you're doing it. Like with me, I am guilty of using the Storyteller by overburdening the 12-volt circuit, because I plugged in too many things, because I'm used to doing that on my Revel. And like you put too many things in, they just got to reset it. Like they're so helpful going to that first year of you getting to know your family member, which is the Beast or the mode van. So anyway, I have used it a few miles. Now that I feel like I've gotten most of the kinks out, I'm ready to go, hit up, a nice, 10,000 mile trip or something.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what are the major kinks that you had to work out in the last 3 months?
Yeah. Well, so all right, Storyteller, don't hate me. Unfortunately, my auto start just didn't work off the shelf. It was very simple. I think there's just a bypass that was missing. It was like literally they just had to like flip a switch and everything was fine. But that was a little disheartening, because I was like, I really would have liked that to work right out, because it is, you buy this $200,000 toy basically, and you want it to work. But they immediately fixed the problem. What was the other one that I had? There's a lot of nuts on the roof rack, a lot of nuts and bolts. You have this whole crazy contraption there. I think it's a front runner roof rack, and several of them came undone. While I was driving the first, I think 3,000 miles on it, I noticed a bunch of them came loose, and I'm like, oh, that's not cool. And they went in and they tightened them all up for me and make sure they were not coming undone. And that's just that's the nature of the Beast. There's going to be a few little things like that. I got the email. I'm sure many other people did too, that the Rixon needed to be optimized. The Rixon is the heating system. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's a very similar system that they had in the Revel, and I'm comfortable with that one. Not comfortable making updates though. The Rixon on a lot of the 22 models, it's not that it's broken. It's just that there's a way that you can maximize the efficiency of it so that it heats up the water faster. We're talking about like maybe a 20% increase, but I'm super big into.
Well, how do you do that?
I have no. I mean, like they tried to explain it to me.
They did it for you.
But yeah, I'm like, I'm just gonna be passing through Birmingham because can you fix my roof rack? Can you make sure my auto start works and take care of the Rixon? And they did it in about an hour. So if you did get that email saying, hey, we need to update it, they can do it. Yeah, no, I mean that's all that I've had for right now. There's the little rattles, right? There's always gonna be little rattles. I put a few little felt pads here and there to cushion out like where the side table, I guess the exterior side table hits the wall and stuff, but very minor stuff. I mean, yeah, there's rattles, but try driving a Revel or really any other vehicle. There's like practically no rattles in this van. So yeah, no, so far it's been really, really good. And also like there's the learning experience. Like I had to learn just how long can my car sit idle without me driving it, because I was working an event and I was working for 6 straight days. So 6 straight days, I literally, I was just stuck in a resort convention center set up working it. And I came out and I'm like, oh wow, looks like my battery is basically dead. No, not the chassis battery, the house battery. And that didn't make sense to me because I was used to having a lot of solar panels on the roof. And
Mm-hmm.
as you know, the mode's just, the solar panel is kind of a joke. It keeps it just barely alive. So that was like
Yeah.
a surprise to me, but now I understand why. It's because all that huge battery pack in there, even though you're not driving it, the fans are there keeping it cool and circulating. Like there's energy being used even when you're not running the microwave. And so that was a learning thing for me. But yeah, now I feel really comfortable about it. I'm really excited to, really excited to go on like, a nice, full month living out of it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Have you actually used a shower?
I have used the shower. It's fine.
So let's compare the shower of the Revel to the Storyteller shower.
So the
What are
big
your
advantage
thoughts?
is having the toilet not in the shower with you. So the
Mm-hmm.
disadvantage is you can't poop and shower at the same time. But I'm not sure how many people poop and shower at the same time. Like I don't know if that's a thing,
Dang.
right? No. The big advantage is not having it in there. So you have that like that. Even though it's a smaller footprint, you actually have more space because you're not having to like work your way around a toilet. Also, by not having hard walls, which initially seemed like a bad idea, it actually is a positive because then you actually have more elbow room. You can push those curtains out a little bit more and not be bonking. I mean, I knocked my elbows so many times just turning around and hitting things. So
Right.
the dry time on the curtain is a little annoying because you're not supposed to put the curtain up while it's soaking wet. Understandably so. You don't want mold and water collecting. So it's like you can't just take a shower and then go. You kind of need to take a shower, leave it out, maybe drive, to your next gas stop or whatever, gas fill,
Mm-hmm.
and then put it away. But like, whatever, that's no big deal, no big deal whatsoever.
Do you want a little hack for that?
Yeah, tell me, please.
Hair dryer.
Hair dryer. I don't own a hair dryer. I have
Your wife does though, right?
my wife, when we travel, like she's like, okay, we're doing this, we're just no makeup, we're wearing a hat,
Okay.
like, so no, but I do like the hair dryer trick. That is something I should totally do if I do get to the point where I need to dry it off. But honestly, it's not even that big of a deal. Like the shower has been surprisingly a good experience, and of course the water heats up extremely fast, which is nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm
Does the shower curtain stick to you at all?
Not much. I mean, it's definitely like a little bit, but it's not like annoyingly so. I think the fact that I think it's magnets at the bottom that all helps, or weights. Like, what I do notice talking about the shower bathroom situation is not having a place to put my toilet paper. Like, so we put our toilet paper in. The Beast has the cargo pockets alongside one of the back cargo garage walls, and so we have like a designated toilet paper one, which is like within arm's reach to grab. But the Revel did have a very fancy, nice like toilet paper holder that when you close it, it gets watertight, so that water from the shower can't get in there. That was kind of a nice little feature. But yeah, the shower isn't whatever. It's a shower, and I mean, I don't encourage people to take long showers there. You're just not supposed to. Keep your water for as long as you can. Hop in, hop out. I mean, we do the whole, rinse, soap, rinse, turn the water off, soap, everything, and then rinse off, and it's super efficient. So yeah, it gets, the shower curtain sticks a little bit, whatever. But it's like the shower is not something that I think that STO needs to change, at least at this point.
Okay. Yeah. Not a deal breaker. That's
not
good.
A deal breaker.
So you mentioned that you drove your Revel stock, and then you went and bought a Beast, which has basically all the bells and whistles to include the upgrade for the suspension. Yeah. So for those that don't get a Beast and that are looking for a suspension and don't really know the difference, what's your take on the use with just the Revel chassis with the Storyteller chassis with the upgraded suspension?
I'm assuming the stock Revel chassis is the same as the classic mode or stealth mode chassis in the way it handles. So the Revel chassis, I mean, I thought it drove. I mean, I was coming from a Class A, so I thought it drove fine, and I drove that for years, and I drove the Revel for years. I had no real issues. Obviously, when I turn corners, I'm like, yeah, there's a large vehicle. It's not the most stable thing. driving the first 2,000 miles with my van on the interstate coming back home, I was like, wow, just wow. It handles way better than I could have possibly imagined. I mean, way better. It just curves better when you're making those big loops around the interstate, whatever. It curves better, but also just taking up those bumps. I live in New Orleans. New Orleans is famed for its potholes. I know everyone says they got bad potholes. No, you don't know shit. You come to New Orleans, you'll see some real potholes. All right. And like it handles the bumps way better. It's one of those things like, wow, I kind of would have loved to have had that a while back. But like I said, if you don't know better, like
Yeah, you
it's
don't know
fine.
what you don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that
Yeah.
most people need it unless they're driving, like I said, a lot of miles and they're, on the interstate, like doing a lot of miles, then maybe they would. But like I had no baseline to compare it to, and I was very happy with my Revel. So I'm sure
Right.
if you're happy with the way your Classic is handling or Stealth is handling, save that money and invest it in something else, like possibly a mattress, because the mattress is fine. The mattress is, I find the mattress better, the stock mattress in the Storyteller better than a Revel, and that was a nice little plus. I was not expecting that. I was kind of thinking, oh well, this bed's probably going to be more firm. I can sleep on the stock Storyteller mattress. I could not sleep on the stock Revel mattress.
Mm.
But I do know that my wife, who is more particular, does want to upgrade the mattress. So like maybe you don't need that suspension upgrade. Maybe the mattress is one you want to consider getting. And it seems like a lot of people have this desire to get this new investment. Investment's the wrong word. A van is not an investment. You're losing value. Well, under normal circumstances, the van is depreciating every single day. So don't consider your van investment. When most people buy this expensive vehicle, they immediately want to get all this other stuff for it. No. I mean, listen, to each their own. But give it, maybe a few like major trips. Give it a few months, maybe a year before you start buying stuff. I'm talking about even before you buy like your little silverware plate set you're going to put in there, because you're going to figure out exactly what you need. Yes, it's cool to go buy all the cool stuff, but then you end up having probably 50% of that cool stuff just like not used and either taking up space in your van, and then you're using up that valuable real estate there, or it's literally shoved in your garage or your attic and you're never going to see it again. I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, when we cleared out our Revel to put stuff into our Storyteller, we were like, oh, we're just gonna take everything from one and put in the new. And then we're like, wait, I didn't even know this stuff was in the Revel. Like there was a whole drawer of things that was literally a full drawer that we just never used. And we immediately threw that stuff away. It's not going into the new van. We're not going to clutter up our new van with stuff that we never used for 2-3 years in the last van. So I think, and I mean, I'm not trying, like, listen, hey, if you get excited about buying stuff, go buy stuff. But I definitely would recommend holding off and not getting anything until maybe a few months of ownership, just so you know what you actually need. And like even something as simple as like the cutting board. You may find this really cute cutting board that you're just desperate to have, but you know what? It might not be the right dimensions for the particular drawer you want to store it in. So yeah. What about you? Do you have anything that you absolutely love? Like, is there any like upgrades that you highly recommend that people get, or gadgets or gizmos or
Usually it's suspension if they
suspension?
don't have a
Yeah.
beast. But that's more. I mean, even on the highway with crosswinds and stuff, the suspension definitely helps.
Yeah.
But I, like many others, push the van
Yeah.
off road,
Yeah.
and so that's like 100% necessity. You have to have a good suspension to do that.
Did you
And then the
drive?
other
Do you
thing
have a
that
Classic or a Stealth, and you upgraded the suspension? Like, did you compare? Yeah.
No, I have a classic, a 2020 classic, and I remember I bought it in Tucson.
Cool.
And I was driving out back to Austin, and there's like really really bad crosswinds over by El Paso, and I thought I was gonna die. Like I had to slow down to like 35 miles an hour on the freeway because it just got that bad. And anyways, and then that's when I knew I wanted the suspension. Well, I knew I wanted it because I knew I was going to take it off road, because I used to have a Travado.
Oh yeah, cool.
But yeah, and then also the other thing that I recommend right off the bat is getting ceramic tint on those windows, because it becomes, in the summertime, oh man, you basically become an egg in an incubator
Yeah.
where you just can't. It's just so hot. It doesn't matter how high you have that AC. It's just you're roasting. So other than that, I mean, I totally agree with like just use it and see exactly what you need before you gotta decide to put a bunch of money into something that you're like, well, maybe I kind of didn't need that upgrade, but yeah. But anyways,
well, I mean, the ceramic windows is a good one. That one is not like as sexy of a thing as like the suspension system, but I think that is probably that's probably more practical, to be honest. Do you get a lot more privacy from it too? Because I don't know about you, but I have people constantly looking inside my van, or like staring. It's kind of nice to have a little bit more privacy. The Revel did have built-in shades that you could just like slide right up, which at the same time they rattled like crazy and they were super fragile and they tore up really, really quickly. I think the ceramic tint would be kind of cool for both privacy and also for obviously the heat control.
So we talked about all the stuff you like about the Storyteller. What are the top 3 things that you find annoying about the Storyteller? Like if you were the chief engineer, what would you how would you redesign and what would you redesign?
Um, that's a really, really hard one, and I'm trying to think here to be like, geez. I mean, you know what? This is a reach, but I think that maybe one or two more outlets would be good. I run
Hmm.
a deep freeze when we drive. It's just part of we're on the road a lot and we like to have frozen food with us. So the refrigerator's
Hmm.
freezer is tiny. It's not really a freezer. It's just helps keep the whole thing cool. So we run a deep freeze, and it'd be nice to have another outlet there. Ideally, I would
Outlet where?
somewhere in the garage, but right now you have one on the back end of the garage. I'd almost have one like perpendicular facing inward so that you could be sitting in the
Hmm.
garage and be able to plug in there, both an outlet, what is it, a 110 and a 12 volt. I'd probably
Okay.
want to increase the ability of the 12 volt to take a larger load. Now, but this is like super specific to me because most people aren't traveling with a deep freeze on there and charging. So we travel with a
Hmm.
deep freeze and an external battery that we try to keep running so that we're not draining our house battery off the deep freeze if we're stuck like at a place for 6 days straight and we want to keep our freezer going
Hmm.
and not drain our house battery. The other thing, which is kind of, it's totally unnecessary for probably most, but it's something that because I had a Revel with, not that the Revel had good solar panels, but it definitely had a lot more solar intake than the SEOs. I kind of think that having another like a full set of panels up there would be nice, but then of course then you lose the rooftop accessibility. So I'm wondering, what's more valuable, right? Having this rooftop space or having solar panels? And I know you really can't have both. So I want to try the rooftop space and see if we actually end up using that. We have yet to use it, like period, not at all. But maybe the idea of it sounds cool. Like, come on, it sounds pretty sexy. Sit on your roof and like look at nature from your roof, whatever. Or you could just sit on the floor and look at nature. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason the rooftop is cool. I haven't figured out that yet, so we're not doing any upgrades to the roof. The other thing is, um, 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 well, how do I say this? Um, I would like for there to be a way that you could still use your shower. You could still access your toilet without having to move the Groove Lounge bed. So if the Groove Lounge is down, and I don't even know if this is
Mm.
possible. Maybe if like the door slided underneath it to the side instead of lifted up to access the, you can't do that because the shower basin is designed to be a, you know, catch water or something. But I'm like, if that Groove Lounge is down, you're not getting to your toilet. But I mean, once again, you can only do so much in this tiny space. You know what?
Yeah.
You know what I do want to share that because I have this opportunity to share is I had I think they call it the headliner shelf above the cab in my Revel. I
Hmm.
thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, we have to have one of these. I love these. Um, Now that I've not had it, because we were going to buy one immediately to put into the Beast, and my wife, the logical one in the relationship, was like, let's not just do that. Like I was telling you earlier, you don't want to just go buy a bunch of stuff. But we were so used to having a shelf. We're like, this is an integral part. This is where we put everything. This is where we put our jackets and stuff. Not having the headliner shelf, I'm like, wow, this is like way more open feeling than ever before and spacious. And I can stand up from the house compartment in the garage and walk straight up forward to the cabin, the cab, and sit down. Like I kind of love that. So I don't know, like at first I was going to say, oh, you should add a headliner shelf because I bet more people would like that. But now I can say from a very like neutral point of view, like I've not a neutral, from an experience point of view where I've had the headliner shelf and now I don't have the headliner shelf. I definitely don't like having the headliner shelf. I mean, yes, you're losing a little bit
Hmm.
of storage space,
Interesting.
but once again, having the open air feeling is so much more valuable to me.
Yeah. When I walk into a van that doesn't have that, and they have the window shades up and the
Yeah,
cockpit chairs turn around, it just seems so much
yeah,
bigger,
yeah,
so
yeah.
much like just.
I'm
Yeah, I totally
I'm
get
I'm
it.
kind of from
But
the school of thought or philosophy, like really lean into something as opposed to trying to do one thing to do it all. Lean into it. So when we got the storyteller, like I was telling you earlier, like the idea that we had so much space in it compared to the Winnebago was like, wow. And so the idea of starting to remove space now that we have, no, we don't want to do that. Like, let's lean into the fact that the Winnebago has these big windows. I mean, the Storyteller has these big windows, has this big open air space, almost like an open floor plan. Let's not start to, remove that in any way whatsoever. So, yeah, we were looking at getting one of those curtains that would cut across between the
mm,
cab and the house. purely for privacy, it's super easy to close a curtain than it is to put a windshield, whatever, screen up. But yeah, the curtain all of a sudden cuts off, a big chunk of your house. Let's not do that. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, no, we've yeah, I there's not too much, not really much I would change at all. Maybe lower the price a little bit, but I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, I think everyone is wanting
Yeah,
that.
everyone was wanting that. Oh, I don't know if this is me or someone else. I'm not sold on the side ladder yet. I love so my Revel had a ladder in the back, and I definitely love the way the side ladder looks. Like, just purely for aesthetics and badassness, you have this big ass ladder on the side. It looks cool, but I have this weird fear that I'm constantly going to hook it up on something, where if it's directly behind the van, it's not an issue. And I do drive through very narrow streets. I'm not, New Orleans is extremely narrow streets, and then when I get into like the sticks, you're going through narrow fire roads, and I know that the ladder doesn't stick out any further than your side mirror, but the ladder does hang down lower, and I just feel like it's just asking for something to get caught up on it, and that could be totally a irrelevant fear, and stupid fear that's got no real place in reality here or anything. But that is something that I'm like, oh, maybe kind of make more sense to do a ladder in the back, but then maybe not. What do you think? Do you like the ladder on the side?
I do like it on the side, but I have the same concern that you do. So even driving in like the small streets of
Yeah.
Austin or Seattle or like wherever I'm at, it's like I'm always looking in the side mirror to see like how
Yeah.
close I am to like hitting something
Or like if you're parked in a biker, right? Like that's always my fear. It's like there's a lot of, like, you're in Austin, there's a lot of people that ride bikes in Austin. In New Orleans, a lot of people ride their bikes. I'm always worried someone's going to see the van, which is a off-white color, and that stands out. But the black ladder is not going to really, be, they're just going to just clip it just a little bit. So like maybe putting some like reflective strips on it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know. I know, like what you said, technically it doesn't go any farther than the mirror, but it does seem like it. I'm not gonna lie. What's interesting that you bring that up is that Owl Van just came out with a sleek new side ladder that it hugs the side of the van a lot more.
Ooh,
So you may want to
that's
check that out.
sexy.
Yeah, but that might be an upgrade that will just give you peace of mind,
Yeah.
really. But
I mean, at the end of the day, that peace of mind is priceless, right? I mean, geez,
oh
yeah,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, no, because it is scary, especially like going down like the freeway, and then you have like, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but like either passing a diesel or whatever, and then they get so close to you because of the
Yeah.
wind, and you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
and you're like, my
It's
ladder's gonna get clipped,
it's
and
terrifying. Yeah.
yeah.
Y-
But I do like the ladder on the side versus the
yeah.
rear. I don't know why, I just do.
Yeah. I mean, I will tell you, every time I close the door, the garage doors, with the ladder connected to the back, it would just rattle a lot. I mean, it's just because it's naturally a lot of vibration going there. But yeah, I know I do really like having the fancy mounts on the back of the Beast, and I know that the stealth mode also has something kind of similar, and so I don't know if that could interfere with the
Yeah.
ladder placement at that point.
Yeah, probably, but
Yeah.
so I like to end every podcast with the same
All right,
question,
shoot.
and that is, I don't know if you're going to be ready for this, but what does it mean for you to be part of this donation community?
What does it mean to me? Oh, well, I mean, I can tell you that I love the fact that every single day, I have, no matter where I am camping or even at my home, I can hop onto onto the Facebook group, or reach out to the Stone Nation, right? The group, the STO owners, the guys with Beast, Classics, Stealths, soon LTs, and know that it's like a legit family that wants to help me and make sure that I travel as comfortably and enjoyably as possible. And so if I have questions, like, I have this huge, I don't know, network of people I've never met before face to face, but that are so eager and excited to help me and give me advice, whether it's finding a campground or how to, reset the 110 volts, on the van, whatever. It's just, I love having that peace of mind. Like we were talking about peace of mind earlier with the ladder, having that peace of mind that I've got a family out there of van owners that I can lean on.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the biggest perks. I would say unspoken perks if you don't know about the community. It's like one of those things that you're like, oh, I bought a van, but now I have a family that comes with it. It's pretty sweet. So.
Yeah, and the family is whether it's because the product is that good, because the company is that good, or because the people that buy this particular vehicle are just in a different mindset. I'm not sure which one, but I've been part of other, groups before, with the Revel and stuff, and that almost was kind of toxic in some ways. Like there's a lot of bashing, complaining, and grinding at teeth. And yes, there are problems with that vehicle, and there's going to be problems with the storytellers. There's going to always be problems out there, but I think the mindset of the average storyteller owner is very optimistic, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thanks for coming on to Stonation. I appreciate it. You had a lot of great insights. I think a lot of people are actually going to find your insights useful.
Cool.
I mean, you don't meet a lot of people that have owned both a Revel and a Storyteller.
And a Class A.
Yeah, either way that... Oh, yeah, and a Class A, for sure. But, yeah, you're going to help a lot of people out there. And, whether you choose a Revel, a Thor, or like whatever else is coming out on the market, or a Storyteller, I think it's the biggest thing that I want anyone to take away from, this episode and episodes like this is just find something that works for you.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work for you, it's okay.
Yeah.
Look somewhere else.
Good advice.
But anyways, yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, Kicker. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Travel well.
Stonation is a production of Park Media. The executive producer is Younghwa Kim. The audio engineer is
Stephen Grasso.
The marketing director is
Guillaume Golson.
The original music and artist is done by
Jason Wallsmith.
The sound designer is
Lorenzo Interiano.
And the webmaster is
Peng Shi.
Without any of these people, this podcast couldn't happen, so a big, huge thank you. And a big, huge thank you to you, the listener. If you like this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a 5-star review. This is Younghwa with Stonation, and I can't wait to share the road with you.